Hey, did you ever force your loved ones to host your birthday party at a cemetery? Is your family concerned that the black clothes and aggressive emo-over isn't just a phase?
Positive Facebook! It's a lifestyle! 'Cause I got your picture, I'm coming with you, dear Maria, tell me.
Well, congratulations! You might be a grave cleric. But what is a grave cleric? Well, grab a shovel, make a stop at Party City, and prepare to bring down the mood at every get-together, cause we're 1 foot in the grave. Death is a part of life. Yikes. I know, right? This is a real bummer of an episode. But it doesn't have to be. Since there's no use in trying to outrun the inevitable, why not embrace the idea that the transition to the great beyond is something natural and, for most, very peaceful? Not to harp on the sad part too long, but it does make sense to live the most you can while you still can. That's where the Grave Cleric comes in. You see, despite what the chains and weird hair dye may lead you to believe, the Grave Cleric's focus is to preserve the sanctity of life still yet to be lived, and destroy anyone who dares desecrate its natural timeline. So how does that make you different from a regular cleric? I mean, don't all clerics seek to preserve life? Well, except for the one who does literally the opposite. Yes and no. While many clerics pray to gods or the existence of universal truths like knowledge, life, or your focus is something every creature will eventually experience. In many ways, this makes you less like a deacon at a small-town Baptist church named Ted who grills pretty subpar hot dogs and is rude to the waitstaff at Golden Corral, and more like a Grim Reaper or Shinigami from folklore, which is obviously much cooler. But first, are you tired of internet browsers and random entities trying to collect your information? Wouldn't you sleep better at night knowing you're protected from hackers trying to invade your internet privacy? Well, if so, NordVPN has exactly what you need. And if you think about it, why shouldn't everybody be using a VPN? Browsing the internet is much like driving down the interstate, but not having internet protection is like driving without airbags. In today's fast-paced world, you never know what Wi-Fi your phone or laptop may be connected to, and that opens the door for hackers to try to steal your credit card passwords or personal information. NordVPN is the most popular and reliable VPN on the market, and also the fastest, letting you stay protected without missing a beat. Not only that, you also get other perks like changing your location, not just to throw off unwanted internet attention, but also get on Japanese Netflix and watch Spider-Man No Way Home? Really? Or hop onto British Netflix and watch Beans, the musical. Whatever your preference, you can go to this link at nordvpn.com/youmightbeadnd. Once again, that's nordvpn.com/youmightbeadnd, or follow the link in the description to get a 2-year plan plus 4 bonus months. Stay safe browsing, and a big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring the show. Now, back to the video. So you've chosen to embrace the spooky and do the kooky-ooky. I don't know what it means either. Thankfully, you get way more than just the constant smell of dirt and some sick hats. In fact, at level 1, you get access to spellcasting and, of course, domain spells. Domain spells are spells unique to each cleric domain, and like an 18-pack of chips from Costco, come with some extreme flavor. All this to say these spells come prepared and do not count against your total, making them incredibly useful tools for a growing goth cleric. Here we get Bane in False Life, with Bane letting you subtract a d4 from attacks and saves on up to 3 creatures that fail a charisma save, and False Life letting you stave off death with 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points. While not game-breaking, they're both solid spells to keep the party out of grave danger. Anyway. Speaking of keeping the party out of danger...
Congratulations. Chances just went from none to swim.
Because we just became the ultimate paramedic with Circle of Mortality. Now you can wait until the party barbarian takes one too many punches straight to the face and bring them back with a shit ton of hit points. Falling back on your connection to death, your healing spells get a huge boost when a creature hits 0, letting you forget about rolling your healing die and just using the maximum instead. And if that wasn't enough, you can cast Spare the Dying as a bonus action from a range of 30 feet, making sure that a creature is stable by the time you get there and hit him with a huge Cure Wounds. Most classes have trouble getting to double-digit hit points at this level, and we just got them from 0 to full in one spell. That's incredible. Rounding off level 1, you get Eyes of the Grave to allow you to detect undead within 60 feet until the end of your turn. It's kinda like a paladin's Divine Sense, but specifically toward bony boys and ghouly girls. Second level gets us Channel Divinity, and you can of course do the turn undead cleric thing to hurt the feelings of every zombie within 30 feet, but save that for the minor league boys, cause we just got Path to the Grave. Not only does this feature have one of the hardest ability names of all time, it allows you to point at a creature and curse them with pretty imminent death. your curse will amplify the next attack, making said creature take double damage. So that's it, right? I mean, that's all we needed. Pack it up, boys, we're done here. Roll up a real sneaky cleric, pair it with an assassin rogue, and just double crits with that stupid sneak attack bonus, and watch bad guys go from people to meat sacks faster than you can say, "Oh, that's gotta hurt!" But really, in all seriousness, this ability is just so frickin' cool, and like a real Reaper, it lets you just mark a creature for death. I mean, how does it get better than that, man? Just make sure you pick the right turn to set this off. That way you make your enemy vulnerable to a wizard's fireball and not a wizard's wet slap. You also get Harness Divine Power to instead recover spell slots by spending a Channel Divinity, but don't do that, just make people die fast, that's way more fun. At 3rd level we get 2 more domain spells, both of which are cool, but there's just not that much to say about them. Gentle Repose lets you touch a corpse, ew, to protect it from decaying for 10 days, and Ray of Enfeeblement makes an enemy's attacks that use the strength stat only do half damage. What's cool is that this spell is a ray, letting you roll to hit rather than let the creature make the save, meaning that even when fighting a dragon, you may get at least 1 round of physical attacks being less potent, which is really nice. 5th level makes Turn Undead Destroy Undead, because if you listen to the lyrics, you'll know skeletons weren't invited to the Monster Mash, but we also get 2 more domain spells. You get Revivify, which really should be on every cleric's list, or, you know, what's the point? But you also get Vampiric Touch, which I think is pretty cool, but everybody apparently hates. By concentrating your necrotic energy, you can smack a target for 3d6 damage and then recover hit points equal to half of that. It's also concentration, so you can keep it going as long as you stay up. While usually reserved for squishy wizards and sorcerers, I think this spell actually fits you pretty well, letting you just drain guys all day. Yeah, I heard it. Can we just... Okay, so you know how Path to the Grave is awesome and how it would absolutely suck if someone did that to an ally? Well, at 6th level, not only can you ground an enemy and put them down for a dirt nap, you can also save a friend from that same fate with Sentinel at Death's Door. Anytime you see a crit within 30 feet, you can just snap your fingers and turn it into a normal hit, canceling any effects that go along with the crit. All at the cost of just a reaction. See, you're not just a harbinger of death, you've got a soft side under all that face paint. But at this level, you can also channel Divinity twice to send more people to the grave. Oh well, alright then. 7th level gets us yet 2 more domain spells. Blight is a ton of fun for a meaty 8d8 necrotic damage to living creatures, meaning undead and constructs aren't affected, but trees take max damage? I don't know how many treants you're gonna piss off on your adventure, but if you rolled up a grave cleric who has a mad beef with a nature cleric, this might be a great way to ruin their day. You also get Death Ward, which is a really fantastic spell, letting you protect a creature for 8 hours from falling to 0 hit points, letting them pop back up to 1 instead. And while an extra shield while fighting bad guys is the obvious choice, I like to cast this before taking a long walk off a short ledge and just doing some Wile E. Coyote shit. 8th level gets you potent spellcasting or Blessed Strikes, but just take Blessed Strikes. You're not going to be using a weapon very often, but you could probably use that extra 1d8 radiant damage per cantrip, which is just a nice boost. 9th level gets us our last 2 domain spells with Anti-Life Shell and Raise Dead. Anti-Life Shell lets us blow a big bubble of protection from living creatures trying to get into melee range. The shell's 10-foot radius will push unwanted creatures out, but weirdly doesn't work on undead, which is like a whole thing for you. Raise Dead is a rich man spell, letting you bring back a fallen ally at the cost of a fat 500 gold diamond. This of course forces us to ask the age-old question, should I spend this money to bring back the barbarian who keeps running face first into fireballs, or should I finally treat myself to that PlayStation 5?
Treat yourself!
But at 10th level we can finally talk to the God of Death. And what do we say to the God of Death?
Not today.
No, we say please. In fact, we ask pretty hard for a divine favor that only has a 1 in 10 chance of succeeding. This lets you ask your god, or more specifically your DM, to help you in a time of extreme need. This can be in the form of a cleric or domain spell, or whatever your DM sees fit. You can get weird with it too, asking for anything from a new temple to a bowl of hot tomato soup and the perfect grilled cheese. But it's up to your DM to determine if grilled cheeses are within your deity's domain. Levels 11 through 16 aren't much to write home about, just boring spells like Heal, Harm, Firestorm, and Sunburst, nothing too special. But at 17th level we become the Keeper of Souls. Because we've made it our job to help guide mortal souls to whatever lays beyond, you've also become adept at borrowing a little of their energy on the way out. Now whenever a creature dies within 30 feet, you can send hit points equal to the dead's number of hit dice to you or an ally. Like Chiron taking his toll for the ferry ride, imagine this as your small payment for getting lost souls to their final rest. 18th level lets us channel divinity 3 times a day, and finally at 20th level you get perfect divine intervention, so we can definitely get that grilled cheese. Or help the innocent or whatever. Hold on. So what makes a Grave Cleric so special? I mean, obviously this is a rhetorical question, but even for me it's stupid. The Grave Cleric is top tier because it's just that f***ing good. Love him or hate him, the subclasses that came out of Tasha's and Xanathar's almost always seem to slap, and this one is really no exception. I keep joking about Sam Elliott from Ghost Rider just being a Grave Cleric, but I'm right. This subclass is so immediately understandable from a player perspective that it's easy to dive into the theming and then flesh out your dream character from there. And that's not even mentioning the mechanical aspects of the Grave Cleric. You are an incredible healer with the Circle of Mortality, a buff and debuff machine with Path to the Grave and Sentinel at Death's Door, and a rootin' tootin' spell shootin' powerhouse just by the virtue of being a cleric. You heal good, you fight good, and you protect your friends. And isn't that what being a cleric is all about? So if you like My Chemical Romance just a bit too much, can predict the exact date and time of a bad guy's death because you're the one who's gonna do it, and are so ready for Halloween you've already planned out your next 6 jack-o'-lanterns, guess what? You might be a Grave Cleric. Hey guys, as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I always have a hard time figuring out what to say at the end of these, but if you like my stuff, subscribe to see more, and check out the poll to vote on what you want to see next, and as always, have a good one, and I'll see you very soon.
No, who is this?
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Plan.
Well, hello everyone. Hello internet. Hopefully everyone can hear us. Everybody say hi. Or not. Uh-oh.
Amber looks like she's talking and she's opening the show, but I don't hear her.
Oh no.
There's such a lag on Streamlabs. It's just like freeze frames of her doing random things.
Maybe like
she
has started. Actually, it looks like she has
started. What if we're on right now?
We are on right now. I'm looking.
We are on right now.
We are on right now. But
Amber's the only one we can't hear. Welcome to the game.
Welcome to the game.
Hello.
So after all the testing and all of the checking and all of the playbacks, we still have sound issues. It's amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Streamlabs, for your amazing software that really works.
Upright Man can hear everyone. Can you hear me, even though I'm frozen?
So, yes, at this point we are, dealing with some sound issues. So I'm sure we'll be figured out in a minute. We had it sorted a minute ago.
So am I in like a cool box right now?
You are. You're in a cool box. You are underneath Amber's picture, and Dr. Platorius is underneath my picture.
Okay.
So yeah, we're in this nice 4x4 layout. Yeah, it's all very interesting.
You've described it beautifully.
McGinnis Fam says we can hear everything, so that's good. Sound seems fine according to Tony Pika. Hey, Tony, you are here. Wow, that is awesome. Thanks for coming along.
Okay, well,
I'm
no
very
one else can
excited
hear me, but I know that
I can't see you, but you can see me.
I know that
Yeah,
the
Amber, if you
internet can hear me,
us,
so
our
I am
feed,
fixing.
We all sound great except you.
I know. I'm
Giddy's
fixing
is
my
frozen.
video.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Hey, chat, why don't you tell everyone that
She's
I am chatting
fixing the
with them,
video.
telling them
Okay,
what's
so
going on, but
ladies and
they're not
gentlemen,
looking at it.
please be patient with us. Clearly, we're having some technical issues, which is not unusual for streaming, to be fair. You know, I've been streaming for 3 years, and it's about 1 in 3 episodes that goes off without a hitch. So, you know, yeah. How you doing there, Amber? Are we getting anywhere? Not yet. Not yet. Well, we could restart the stream in a minute.
I do hear her talking to Chad on the stream. So her sound's getting out to people.
Who's Chad?
No, her sound's getting out to people on the stream. So
they can hear Amber. Not sure if you we can't hear Amber at all.
Yes, I'm telling the chat to tell you guys to keep going.
Amber, you are obviously.
Chad, you out there? Can you send us a DM?
I'm trying to fix my video.
I'm just going to promote myself while we.
This is a lot of fun. I love that my face looks like this, and no one else can hear me.
This is very fascinating. I could turn you your.
Nope.
I could maybe you could unmute Zoom.
Nope.
No. She says no.
I wish she had sign language. She needs
no, I'm pretty sure that means no.
Can we help you?
Can we help you?
Help you.
All right, so Upright Man can hear her. Keep going and intro Mike. Right, well, okay. Oh, intro Mike. Well, there's 2 mics. One of them's Doctor, though, the doc. So we'll not refer to him. So this is Mike Riley. And I honestly don't know that much about Mike Riley, except that you do.
Actually, Mike Riley is our first returning guest. Now, I don't know if that makes you a super geek or what, but thank you for being our first returning guest on the game.
Right. And what do you do, Mike? What's your connection to Dungeon Studios and so on? Because I mean, I'm completely ignorant, so you have to forgive me for being a nonce in that regard.
I have my finger in a lot of pies. Let's see. I'm working on a super special project for Dungeon Studios. It's a podcast that has not yet been released yet. We're working on a backlog of highly produced stories for a podcast called Fables from the Forgotten. Wonderfully talented group of writers and script writers and voice actors. And, you know, and we're producing this thing to come out hopefully the latter part of the year, beginning of next year time frame. And it should be very exciting. And then I also have a podcast for myself called Michael and Jeremy Steal Your Podcast.
Right, and we get some clips from that, don't we, on our show?
You tell me.
Well, I'm pretty sure we do. During our breaks, we put on clips. I
yes,
mean,
we do.
I assumed you watched them, so you know I'm highly disappointed. Frankly,
I love Majizzy Pop. I love Majizzy Pop. Myself.
I go to bed early. Okay, your show comes on late for me. I catch it when I can.
That's fair. That's pretty much the way it goes too with streams. Awesome. So what is I guess you can't tell us about this highly secretive podcast, but the stories that you're recording, these are Dungeons and Dragons stories, are they?
Well, they take place in the world of Enaron and have a wonderful cast of recurring characters. And there's a new kind of story that happens each time. No 2 episodes are the same. But we do have some recurring characters, and I really honestly don't know how much more I can say.
No, don't give anything away. Don't give anything away. Now, there's another reason. There's another reason, Russell, we have Michael with us, because tonight's our doing with treasure. Before we get off on our rant about treasure and role-playing games, what are you doing with treasure?
Well, we're doing lots of things with treasure, handling it heavily, sniffing it, playing with it, and then we're going to bury it, and then we're going to leave clues to the whereabouts of this treasure.
Oh, really? Are you serious about this?
On our podcast? Yes, absolutely. I'm serious. This is going to be actual silver, actual diamonds.
No, I've heard you talking about this on your podcast before. I thought you guys are joking around. Now you
gold, silver, and diamonds in the treasure, as well as a bunch of other knickknacks, and the fabled, thought lost to time, Blackbeard's dildo.
Oh my God!
Yes.
What?
That's the thing. That's the main article here.
It's like a very rare artifact.
I've been watching Our Flag Means Death. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Do you know who Rhys Darby is? He's a Kiwi actor who was in Flight of the Conchords.
Yes.
Yep. Right. So
he
they
played Murray.
Right, yeah, and he and Taika Waititi, New Zealand director, did a bunch of stuff you guys probably do know, including some Marvel movies. Have put together this TV show called Our Flag Means Death, which is this kind of parody pirate show.
Oh, it's got to be great! Oh my gosh,
it's great.
Yes.
It's really very good. Yeah,
very nice.
And a New Zealand show that I'm not ashamed of.
I don't know what is streaming on in the States. We'll have to start scouting it out.
Yeah, have a look. It's great.
All right.
Anyway, sorry, I totally
now what about this Blackbeard's phallus we're talking about?
The word is dildo.
Dildo. It's definitely a dildo. There's no other word for
absolutely.
it.
Okay. You can't. It's nothing. You can't. It won't be anything else.
Okay.
Once you see it.
So it's not a religious artifact.
Well, I mean, who knows what he did with it? We just know it was his, and it is a dildo.
Right. Do you know anything about like what it's modeled on, or perhaps who it was modeled on?
A very large man, if I had to guess.
Right.
It's very detailed and
very
very anatomically correct.
So we're talking, and yeah, I don't have to say anything.
Good circulation.
Good circulation.
Oh yeah, it's very veiny. If you
good
want me to
circulation.
spell it out.
Good
it's very veiny.
Okay, am I coming into the conversation at the proper moment? Can you guys see me now and hear me?
We're just got to be making this even
You still can't hear me?
funnier as hell.
This is hilarious.
God. Oh my!
And I'm gonna bury this in the woods somewhere.
So that's it.
Clues.
And there's gonna be clues now. But now here's the thing. You say your show's in Florida. Could this thing end up anywhere? I mean,
I will give your show
because I know your partner travels around.
They can't hear me.
So it could already be hidden somewhere.
Jeremy travels every week.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes multiple states in one
week.
It would be, but I will give your listeners the very first clue.
Ooh,
the very first clue. It is in Florida. I'm lazy.
Okay. All right.
So if you want the treasure, you want Blackbeard's dick.
I don't think they want that going through TSA either.
Right. Don't come to New Zealand for Blackbeard.
It's not going to set off a metal detector. It's made of wood.
Right. Right.
No, I think you're worried what Jeremy might do with it while he's traveling.
Hey,
you could definitely kill a human being with it. You could kill a human being. It's actually got an ergonomic handle that you can wrap your hand around at the base. And you could really wail into someone with this thing.
Right.
It is definitely a weapon, which may have been its original use as well as pleasure time.
All right. Hello.
You
Can you guys
have
hear
at
me
least
now?
one American president
Still
that I
can't hear
would
me?
like to slap around with a big rubber dildo, actually. But
Still can't hear me.
I would need
Was
them
it
to
Taft?
be chained up.
Was it
Sorry?
Taft?
I don't know what that means.
The President Taft?
Taft.
Hello. Can you guys hear me now?
Nothing is registering in this brain.
Well,
Maybe
that's a man who was the
You guys
president
still
of our
can't hear
country many years ago.
Oh.
Why?
Oh no,
That's
much more recent than that.
That's
much more recent than that.
That's a cultural loss. It didn't translate.
Yeah, it
going,
didn't translate. That's okay. That's okay.
Equatorial.
At least we all knew what a dildo was.
That is true.
Well, yeah, there you go. It's universal. You
That
know,
is universal.
I think in New Zealand, don't
spiral.
they pick their presidents out of a hat? Is that how it works?
Well, no, we don't even have presidents. We have prime ministers. You know, we're part of the Commonwealth, so we do whatever the Queen. Oh, the Queen's dead.
Do the veins go counterclockwise?
They do. They do.
The veins go counterclockwise.
That's
in
right, Doc.
New Zealand?
That's right.
Okay.
You're the doctor here. You should be telling us. I don't know.
Oh, poor Amber. I keep seeing her face on
So, Michael, tell us more about your show.
So Michael and Jeremy Steal Your Podcast every Monday, wherever you find podcasts. We steal a different podcast every week.
When you say you steal it, what does that mean? You go out there and what? You hijack the studio at gunpoint?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, sometime like one time there was a couple shows in Australia. We teleported to Australia using teleport because every single 7-Eleven is run by the same Indian guy. He just has a teleporter. He just teleports from all the different 7-Elevens. So we went into one of those transporters and went to Australia and then hijacked a guy's show. One time we drilled through the earth in a drilling machine and then popped up through their floor and stole their podcast that way. And then sometimes just barging through the door, coming through the window,
I think
Can you guys hear me
Dungeon
now?
Studios heist,
Still can't
they
hear me?
sent a car for Merwin and I, and we went off in a car, and then they actually, I believe, kidnapped Josh during that.
You were in our trunk. You and Merwin.
That was it. That was it. We were in the trunk. Okay, I forgot.
I have a great pitch for Josh if he's listening, by the way. I want to do the D&D police. I want to do like a SWAT team breaks through windows, comes down on cables, smashes through the, comes in and all guns blazing and what have you. And it's like, freeze your fucking name your D&D rule that you've broken.
Testing.
The D&D police. And, it would be great if Matt Mercer would lead that little gang, but I'm not seeing it happening. It might have to be.
Instead of rule lawyers, it's like rule SWAT. They come in and just cut everything up.
Right. They fuck you up and they get everybody on the table lying down with dice in their mouth.
Oh,
can you see it? I can see it. Okay. So, Giddies, how are we doing over on your end? You're not looking like a happy chap right now. Not having a lot of luck. Do we need to reboot the podcast?
I don't know. I unmuted myself.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
We can hear
all
you.
of you can hear me because I unmuted myself on Zoom. You're not hearing me through Streamlabs. I unmuted so you guys can hear me.
Can everybody hear her?
As long as they can hear you on the
Then we're
stream,
good to go.
that doesn't matter.
Exactly.
The only thing I'm
everybody
worried
hear-
about is that my voice won't get recorded.
That's
We'll
true.
find out.
We'll find out if it's going through Streamlabs. Let's see.
Massive echo.
Massive echo. Okay, that would make sense.
Guys.
It's not echoing here.
Can you use it through Streamlabs and just operate through the Zoom?
I can mute myself on Streamlabs, but then it definitely won't get recorded.
Sorry, everybody out there. We're still trying to flip the flop to get you back with us.
We had it all figured. We did sound tests. We did sound recordings. We played back recordings.
You're the longest we've ever been here beforehand to make sure this would work.
Right. Right.
Roll to 1. That's it.
I feel like you guys need to just keep going, and I'm just gonna monitor the show because there's no way I can get both you and them to hear me.
Oh.
Well, I'm wondering if you should still get it working because we have to make sure we got you for our next show coming up. So,
right.
I think it's important.
True. Yeah. I'm of the opinion, and I'm just going to say this one time, that I think we should figure out how to get the sound from Zoom because that will solve all these problems, and it's
really
doable.
Really quick, because I know Upright Man's really responsive. Can I still be heard in the chat, in the stream? And is there still an echo?
Yes, we can hear you through the stream, but it's severely echoing.
You've gone back to going. You're in ghost form.
Oh dear. So he says yes. Upright Man says yes too. So there you go.
I think you guys should just keep going. I don't know. I can't do it like this.
No, that's fair.
It's going to really be annoying to people.
Okay.
Hi, Christina. All right, I'm going to mute myself, and you know what it is? I'll unmute if I really need to say something.
All right.
And I will continue with this.
That's fair. Okay. Are your notes in the Trello so I can steal them?
Yes, and I'm just going to grab some blank paper and hold paper up every once in a while.
Okay, that works. That works.
I'll figure it out.
So welcome to our extraordinarily professional show, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
The guys having you muted on Streamlabs, possibly?
All right. So where are we going to get started?
Where are we going to get started? All right.
I have a good one. Let's start at the beginning of Treasure and the game which was treasure back in the first edition. Which,
all right,
if I can speak to it, treasure was the motivator for the entire game system.
Yep.
If you didn't get treasure, you didn't get experience.
XP. Right.
Monsters were not experience. The driving force was how much money you could amass.
Right. So corporate capitalism is baked into the game as well.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess I don't know why that was really picked as the driver in the beginning. I think it was just more of a point system was the easiest way to do it. And then, you know, the fantasy link to treasure in literature, which is really the big thing. Because that's the next really important thing is there really wasn't money in medieval times. So,
right. Well, tell us about that. How did money work in medieval times? I mean, because you hear about silvers and coppers.
Yeah. Looking at coinage, you know, if you look at coinage through history, the Greeks and the Romans and the Egyptians all had like a type of currency and a coin,
right?
Made of different materials. They started using like alloys and things like that. As early as the 4th century BC for Greeks and Romans, but then it disappeared, right? And we don't. This I didn't learn till I was 30 years old. I had no idea. I'm walking through a museum in Sweden, and I see this big sheet of copper, and I'm like, "What the hell? What am I looking at?" Right? And in the middle of it, stamped is like something like. Looks like sigils or whatever markings, and then on the 4 corners are the same markings. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I start reading it. It was money.
Wow.
This huge bar was the measurement of someone's wealth.
Right.
And they were huge, so people could not steal them.
Right.
You couldn't get away with it, you know? And then the other ones, people would cut them. Or you could get it officially cut, and then they would stamp the corners with whatever seal the center had, and it would get the new stamp, and then that metal piece would get moved around. 1604, that date. So it's kind of weird when you think about that whole system of like money in D&D is just.
So are you talking about bullion? Like bars of gold at that point? Or are we talking about?
No, these are just like flat plates of copper.
Plates of copper.
Copper that they were using.
Where was this? Where did you say this was?
Sweden.
Sweden.
Right. And these would be carried across Europe.
Wow.
By people. Sweden. No such thing as platinum. Right.
Right.
And then we have this huge, you know, exchange system in 5e with, you know, the copper piece.
Oh yeah, and it's all very consistent. You know,
forget
10 of these is 10 of those, and one of those, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
And then I believe didn't that also changed through the different editions of the game?
Right.
So it makes
what's confusing. Electrum is a funny one, you know, because it's the one currency, at least in 5th edition, that has this sort of strange. It's like 5 electrum is a gold piece or something like that. Is it 5 electrum that's a gold piece? Or
yeah, and you know, looking at this thing, the stuff I was looking at, they don't even compare electrum. They do say silver was definitely a traded item, but not coinage.
Right.
And there was far more bartering going on. I mean, I don't know how much bartering goes on in people's games.
Right. Right, but that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really, really, really does.
And also for not just goods, but for services, like, you know, adventuring services.
Right, right. And really, and I feel I've just, you know, talking about doing this episode tonight, I think a lot of the characters I've been playing have not been treasure driven.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting. Oh, we're going to do a treasure episode. And I was thinking, the last couple of guys I've spoke, I really haven't.
Fair
Mike,
enough.
You play D&D, Mike, right?
What?
You've played D&D occasionally. Do you find treasure as the driving force?
No, never.
Still can't hear me?
Right. The two I've played as a character twice, and both times my character was absolutely not interested in money.
Okay.
Fair enough. So what was your motive? What drove you as a player to follow any kind of plot hooks or storyline? It's like, I just did my own thing.
Well, I always played a character that, was always down to help people.
Right.
So
that helps.
The need to help somebody would be the driving factor for those characters.
So morality.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, right. See, the treasure is the reward. The reward is the treasure. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
The smile of a child's face is all I need.
There you go. Perfect. Exactly. Tony Pika says, my players only see money as a means to get better gear in service of their personal goals or campaign goals. One reason he's glad to use Foundry VTT, so I can let modules work out the currency exchange. Yes, exactly.
That's true.
Things about VTTs. Yeah.
That is definitely true. Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, so we have different types of treasure. It's not just all about currency, is it? Because there's also like art treasures and various consumables and artifacts. And check out our currency episode. Yeah, well, we did a great episode actually about currency, and we rabbled it on for quite a considerable amount of time about it, which was, was pretty interesting.
Money talks.
Money talks. Look at that. That's like the name of a podcast. Money Talks.
So you guys really still can't hear me?
Good ideas.
Amber's saying something important, but we don't know what it is.
Can the audience hear me?
No, just ignore her.
I'm just going to say hi every once in a while.
I can't see her moving. I can't hear her.
No. I think this is worse. Amber, if you're going to do that, we should stop and try to get you back in the recording, okay?
I really wish I could talk to you, Amber.
I know, right? It's frustrating.
I'm stuck with these nerds.
Right. The audience can still hear you, apparently, Amber. So
Okay.
Yeah, so
they can hear her.
So audience, tell us what she's telling us. So
you can tell us what she's telling you.
That's what we should do.
For like
Yes.
15 seconds and just let her say something.
Yes,
We'll
this
play
will
like-
be the telephone episode. I love it.
I'm nodding.
Nod. Nod.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Okay, now we have cricket, so keep talking. Or I will just fill the silence.
She's still going
point.
on. Let's give her
Still
music. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you. Oh, those I can't. I love these compliments.
What if she's talking about us and it's not compliments?
You guys smell like farts.
Everything is a
smell you
compliment. It
from
depends
here.
on how you take it.
Yeah.
This is a great podcast. That's
Yep.
all you can say.
It's like, that reminds me of treasure. Somehow.
Yes, somehow.
All right. So what else, Russia? You're saying other things. She held up the sign. Other things other than.
Well, I mean,
gold
okay,
and
so
currency.
let's talk about, well, what is the objective of putting treasure in your game? If you're going to put treasure in the game, why are you doing it? And for me and my players, partly it's because there's an expectation. You're playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's treasure as a part of that, right? I mean, dragons have hoards. Dungeons are usually full of monsters and treasure. And you get most of your players, typically anyone that's been playing for more than 5 minutes, the minute they kill something, they're like, I loot the body. And they want answers, and they want them now, and they want to know what they found, and they expect it to be, in character, in theme, and on the mark, in whatever other sort of factors or, parameters you might put up for that. So how do you decide what those parameters are? How do you decide, Doc?
Well, it's funny because in my metagame, where everybody metagames all the time, right after they kill somebody, it's, do they have any money?
Right.
Like, that's not even like I search
There's
their body. Is there any money? Do they have a treasure? Do you have any gold?
Make an investigation check, motherfucker.
Right. That's usually what leads down that path. But it's so funny you say that. And that's why we were talking about before. You had some other things besides gold and treasure.
Right. Potions, scrolls, magic items.
You're right. Yeah. I always put something interesting because I like rewarding my characters with a future experience. Oh, this wand, it's so mysterious. You don't know what it does yet.
Right.
The one I really enjoyed.
The
one I did once was large, uncut emerald gems, but they were in huge cylindrical, you know, hexagonal forms that they had to like get out of the dungeon. So actually transporting this, you know, huge thing and getting it kept the value, you know?
Right. Amber says treasure is also a clue to plot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a thing in my campaign setting where the world used to be sort of in the hands of the giants, and so there are these very, very rare coins I call Annam strikes, Annam being the god, the all-father of the giants. These massive coins about the size of a dinner table kind of thing, so big that, as you say, you can't move them. But they're worth, you know, ludicrous fortunes. And once a year, the elves bring one out and parade it around the city as part of the Festival of the Wheel, just to show off all of their wealth, you know. So having that kind of stuff in there that's kind of lore related or what have you can be quite useful, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
You guys ever seen The Phantom with Billy Zane?
No. No,
that's a shame. You got some homework to do. But anyway, in the movie, there's these colored skulls, and like you collect them all, and then they unleash something. I haven't seen the movie in forever, but I do remember that there was all these skulls that we had to get collected. These like crystal skulls. That'd be cool to write into a D&D campaign.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Avery says, that time Russ gave us a huge chest of small coins expecting us to leave most of it, but the barbarian just carried the whole chest out of the mountain. That's true.
And I think that's really where the bag of holding originated from 1E.
Right.
Because treasure was so important to get out. So then the only way you could get treasure out was to have this thing that could contain treasure.
Yeah, and you want your treasure to be a little bit interesting and surprising too. You kind of get sick of handing out, they have 12 silver pieces and some gems and some spell components. You know, so I mean, I find personally, like, because I use a lot of homebrew enemies and antagonists. Namely, there's an order of wizards, the Barakyle Envoy, in my game, and I've created a bunch of tables with treasure on them just for these guys. So whenever the players kill a Barakyle Envoy wizard, I've got like a go-to table that has a bunch of stuff on it that I can select from to sort of make that easier. And then these guys have got like specialist items as well. One of the problems I've found is that you get players after a while, they start collecting so much magic that you're like, well, they're getting a bit overpowered. And okay, they can only get tuned to 3 things, but then they just switch them around, and there's a bunch of them, a bunch of players, and they've all got all this stuff. What do you do to mitigate this overpowering of the player characters, this power creep that occurs? What about you guys?
Yeah, you just change the challenge rating on whatever you're fighting. Instead of a manticore, make it a lich manticore.
Yeah, right.
I think I'd take the items, become more of maybe an item starts talking to somebody or starts influencing someone else in the party. I think those are the kinds of things I kind of target with.
Find their weaknesses, Russ. Find their weaknesses and exploit them.
Well, I got another cunning plan too I came up with recently, because my players are always killing these dirty Barakyle Envoy wizards. So I decided that these wizards, they use magic items that only they can attune to.
Oh, no.
So they have all this fancy shit on them that does all sorts of cool shit, but nobody can use it because they haven't been through the Barakyle initiation ceremonies, and they are not, in fact, members of the order. So that's kind of handy. So they've got all this useless shit that they can't do nothing with, which I think is fantastic.
So, Amber, you hold them accountable with encumbrance?
Yes.
With your sign there? You hold them super encounter. All right. I respect that. I respect that. My crew would probably hang me up if I did that. All right. I see where you're going. Okay.
Apparently everything Amber writes is on the screen backwards.
Even better. People have to use a mirror to decoder. I love it.
We can read it just fine.
No, and Amber, I do think we do need to consider you restarting, because if this does happen on Wednesday, I think we should figure out how we restart this quickly. If we have a guest here that we want to be able to get this to function properly quickly again, and we do need to reboot. We can't do this show without you. And it's no insult to past or future Mike as a guest, but just saying, I think we should try to figure it out at some point. if you want to do it at break or something, I just put that out there.
Okay.
Something I definitely wanted to talk about treasure is dragons. We said we're going to talk about treasure tonight. And, you know, dragons are so connected to treasure. And
can't talk about treasure and not dragons.
Right, and not dragons. And I found this thing on a Reddit, and I don't actually like belong to Reddit. Like I haven't joined, I haven't figured out the whole thing, but I always seem to end up there when I'm looking for something D&D. We'd probably do a whole episode about it, the ins and outs of it, but it led me to this one person, Writer Monk, 9 years ago. And I read this thing and I just thought, man, this is really, really good. And I wanted to share it with our audience tonight. It says from 9 years ago, Atlantis, Hellas, Telestina. Dragons don't hoard treasure because it looks nice or because it makes a comfy bed. And they certainly aren't interested in its monetary value. The truth is that dragons hoard. The truth is that a dragon's hoard is its memory.
Right.
Their lives spans millennia. They take frequently long slumbers and have no organized society and little contact with peers. After the first few hundred years of loss of time and sense, eventually senility becomes inevitable for a dragon, unless they can starve it off by keeping hard, concrete reminders of their past identities.
Right.
Dragons hoard only looks chaotic and disorganized when the truth is they have measured exactly how many pearls have spilled into each gold cup and at what angle the cup itself is lying at, and how large the pile of coins is resting on is. It's a mnemonic device reminding the dragon of what's happening in the year 472, by an extension, making a tiny piece of his identity. That's why dragons get so filled with rage with anyone even touching their stuff. They're not frightened of thieves so much as their arrangement getting disrupted.
Right.
When dragons first began this practice, they didn't realize how much all other races craved treasure. There weren't as many around back then, for one thing, and most of them were still hooting and swinging from the trees. Gems and silver and all the rest were just a convenient choice. They shone and sparkled in a way that made it easy to distinguish them and worked for them into mnemonic patterns. And, you know, they're chromatic patterns. They follow patterns. Only recently have dragons discovered the reason that adventurers persist in attacking their lairs is their desire for these things. For older worms, of course, it's too late. Once their memories have been preserved in treasure, there is no option for them but to fight and to hold on to them. But young dragons have learned better things. They've found on to new things to hold on to their past. And then they go on to start listing incredible things that dragons can hoard as treasure, like splendid hoards of seashells, twigs and leaves arranged in mosaic patterns, rain-washed pebbles. And then I won't go any further, but just how how different a dragon thinks about treasure and what happens to them and everything.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's
very
really, really cool. And I felt like I had to share it, talking about treasure, and gave me a whole different perspective on dragons.
Right. That's great.
I think it'd be really cool if there was written into a D&D campaign, if there was a dragon and he hires your crew because his hoard's been stolen by another adventuring party and he hasn't been able to find them for a couple years. So he's like, fuck. It's gonna get another venturing party to go find these bitches, and then he hires your party, and then you go get it the dragon's hoard back for him.
Well, and I believe that is the whole the
premise.
The premise for whatchamacallit, right? Is the Blue Dragons
is it the Dragon Heist?
Yeah, for Critical Role.
Oh, did somebody already do that? Damn it!
Well, they had a blue dragon. But that would be an evil. I don't know.
I got a dragon skull right here. That's pretty
cool.
That's nice. Really cool. That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That's really
so cool. Tony Pika, who, by the way, I went to primary school. That is elementary school for you guys in America. in Papua New Guinea many years ago. He lives in Australia now. We've not seen each other for like decades, and this is the first real interaction we've had for like decades. Plays D&D. He's saying definitely encumbrance is a great tool. My new game I'm starting will include currency weights as well. No more infinite backpack players. Now, I have to say personally, like, I like the idea of it, and I think if you're using a VTT, that's probably the ticket. But I have gotten to the point overall personally where I just ignore encumbrance. I'm not keeping track of shit like that. I don't need more numbers. It's not fun for me. I will take count of encumbrance when you go into the desert. If you go into the desert, I want to know what you're carrying. The rest of the time, I could care less personally. Most of the time.
No, you know, Russell, you asked me before. I think the thing with encumbrance for me is when you start with a player sheet, I'm assuming a player is already not over encumbered, and has some room to pick up some stuff. I'm also aware this is too much for them right now, and I think it's more of that than like keeping math or counting weights or
right.
I know this is going to be too big or too heavy for them. This is too heavy for you guys. How are you going to move it? You're going to need a cart, or you're going to need. So I feel like I use that more than actual encumbrance rules.
Yeah, I mean, and most groups end up with a bag of holding or two anyway. Although that being said, I have a very special trick for bags of holding. In my world, if you put something into a bag of holding, you need to name it, and if you don't name it, it will disappear and you'll never get it back, which is a problem because bags of holding have a finite amount of shit you can put in them before they explode and tear a hole into the astral plane and half of your treasure goes missing and you may even lose a party member or two. So,
you name the bag or you name the thing that you put in the bag?
You name the thing that you put in the bag.
So this is Gary.
If you're smart,
right. The word is Gary, yes.
If you're smart,
Gary the sack of gold, Gary.
Right. You could do that. You could do that.
Okay.
But the smart thing to do is the very first thing you should put in the bag is a list. Right. So you summon the list. You like list, woof, pull it out. Okay, what's on the list? Now you can name the things because the things that are named are on the list. And then you put new things on the list.
I like it. There's lots of connections there. I like it.
Did
you say there's a limit though? Did you say that bag of holding has a limit and it can explode into the astral plane?
They can.
Is that a random limit you put on these bags?
No, that's actually rules as written. There is a limit. I mean, I had one session where some players polymorphed a beholder into a chicken and put it in a bag of holding. And the chicken, because the bag of holding, the interior of it works differently. You know, time is dilated.
Right.
So, I couldn't find out how much a beholder weighed, but I was able to obtain information about how much it could eat. And the amount that it could eat exceeded the interior limits of the bag of holding. So I figured that once it turned back into a beholder inside the bag of holding, it would explode. Nice. So given that the time dilation inside the bag of holding is, you know, fluctuating, I just chose a round during the combat that would make sense and had the bag of holding explode, and it sucked one of the players into the astral, who had already intimated to me that he wanted his character to die during the session. So we kind of planned that out so he could leave the campaign. So he got sucked into the astral.
Kill me.
There you go. Tony Pickers, please. 60 pounds from memory, but 500 pounds apparently. He's
cool. That's he's got it down.
Right. So yeah,
500, I think. Yeah.
Overloading the bag of holding. You also don't want to put another bag of holding or a portable hole inside a bag of holding.
Yes.
Can you give any hints?
Yeah, or any of that shit inside of a TARDIS. You definitely don't put a bag of holding in a TARDIS. So yeah,
did you leave any hints to
that? What was that?
Did you leave any hints that this was going to happen? Did you like leave open perception checks or anything like that for people to kind of get an idea that this was going to happen, or did you just spring it on them?
Well, they sprung it on me. They decided to polymorph the beholder. That wasn't my idea. I didn't know that was coming. So,
all right, I understand.
This was straight up DM revenge.
I like it. I like in Ravenloft. I don't know if you're familiar with that setting. They have the Bagman, and the Bagman is someone who wanted to leave the Dark Realm and climbed into a bag of holding but now can move from bag of holding to bag of holding.
Oh, wow.
So there's always an odds that he will come out of your bag if you have a bag of holding in Ravenloft, which is really cool. And I definitely utilized that a lot for our 1.5-year campaign. The bag man always made a couple of visits or stole something out of the bag or gave stuff from the bag to Dark Lords because the bag was not a permanent base.
So what's the most fun magic item or piece of treasure you've ever given out?
Well, geez, one of my favorite things I did back in the day was I had this thing called the box, greatly influenced by Hellraiser, but it was not focused on pleasure at the time. Each side was sort of like a different kind of rules, a different kind of magic item. Like one side was like 2 wishes. One side was like change places with a person. So characters would like get their minds changed. So there's like different powers that it had. And that thing and I was playing a very chaotic campaign. And I just threw that in there and it really became a big focus and got everybody up and chaos ensued. It was really crazy treasure. And again, talking about molding a campaign, it sort of molded a whole campaign, grew around it. I think that was one of my coolest, greatest. Sorry, I get carried away.
No, very cool, interesting. Michael Riley, you don't actually play D&D too much, do you? So that's what are you even doing on this show? Just kidding.
Sure. Well, I ran my first experience with D&D was I jumped into it by just immediately DMing. I didn't have anybody that played, so I wanted to learn how to play, so I just learned how to DM and I wrote a campaign. And
great.
I think the best treasure that I came up with, it was a weapon, and it was a club that was basically the forearm section of a skeleton arm, like a human skeleton arm with a handle. And so you could like bash people with this like stiff skeleton hand, but it had this socket. Eventually you get this moonstone. You can activate it with a moonstone, and then it turns into a werewolf arm. It was actually a werewolf person whose arm it was. So you can activate it, and it becomes like it gets its own initiative, and instead of dealing bludgeoning damage, you can activate it to have it do slashing damage.
Goodness.
And then you can have it do small tasks and things like that, like in battle, if you need to like send it off to go fuck with shit.
Nice.
Right.
I like it. That's pretty cool.
Fantastic. Wow. I wish Amber was here so we could ask her what her greatest magic item was, but yeah, she's not. She's right. So Amber says, can we lead into the break and tell everyone that she'll be restarting the stream, so the link that they're on won't work anymore.
No.
You guys are going to need a new link. So when we start streaming again, grab the new link and follow that, because this will be dead. And you'll have to come back to Facebook to find the new stream once it restarts. So it will be at the Dungeon Studios page on Facebook. So yeah, there you go. That's my
hey, and before we go, anybody on our Discord, I stuck a little thing in the game about in our game thread about monsters as treasure. You can check that out too while you're watching our videos.
Monsters as treasure. Yes. Crikey. All right, now I've got a few more things to talk about treasure as well, but we'll come back to that hopefully soon. So stick around.
Q&A later too as well.
Yeah. So if you've got nothing else to do while we're fucking around trying to figure out our stream business, you can go and click like and subscribe to all the things. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, do the things. Go, Amber, do the thing. Do the thing, Amber.
All right, I'm
Amber.
doing the thing. All
We're
right,
hanging
it's
by
happening.
ourselves. Oh my god.
Hey, Poppy.
Yes.
What's going on? Okay.
Poppy.
See?
What the hell? No, don't never call me that.
Pardon. Okay, so a quick question about birth.
Yeah, what about it? I already explained it to you. People fuck and then birth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And animals, people, the fucking I understand.
Oh.
But I just noticed that you made only females able to give birth.
Yeah.
Like kind of across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Could maybe some males give it?
Dangerous. Males don't have what it takes.
You don't think so?
They're not tough enough.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a boy stub his toe?
A lot of wah wah wah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of wah wah wah, woe is me. Women stub their toe and they're just like...
Mm-hmm.
They don't care.
But it is okay. That's fair, but maybe we'll toughen the males up. And because birth is the most painful thing anyone can go through, so it feels like, make it maybe a little more equal. Like kind of both giving birth sometimes. Just a little penis baby.
A dick birth?
A dick birth.
You want birth dick?
I don't want birth dick, but I feel like it's more equal.
Jesus Christ.
Would it work? I haven't really, thought that through so much.
I'm thinking about it right now, and it seems like no.
Was the other option ass births? So, ass babies?
Could do an ass baby. We could also invent,
baby.
Ass baby. All right, you just kind of ran with it. All right, fine. We'll have to experiment with ass birth. Have it do a smaller animal, some kind of deep ocean animal, if we're going to do an experiment. Yeah.
How about seahorses?
What? Which ones are those?
Those are the water saxophones.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. Seahorses. Male seahorses can have the baby.
They'll do dick babies.
Mm-hmm. No, butt babies.
Butt babies?
A dick baby would be insane.
Do seahorses have dongs?
I cannot remember.
Mm-hmm. Sir, you are a pillar of equality.
No,
this is massive.
No, I'm not.
I'm just going to go ahead and pretend you are.
Okay.
Dodge. Why are you always making me climb in the smallest of places?
Well, Jerry, this is the best way to get to the podcast that we need to steal this week.
It's always
like we do every week on Mondays.
Mondays? Every Monday?
Yeah, religiously.
Sometimes I wish we could just walk through the door, but yeah. Every Monday on where do they find it?
On Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you can find podcasts. That's where we are.
I get so hot in these vents. I think they have the heater on.
Oh, Jeremy, don't move. Oh, wait. Michael and Jeremy steal your podcast every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts and stuff.
We're going to take your podcast and we're going to do it
better,
faster,
stronger,
hornier.
Yes.
In an hour.
Or more. Sometimes.
And leave. How am I still living? I mean, you hit me right in my face.
Hit him again.
Ow! Dang it, Ricky.
Hold up. You know Ricky?
He's a demon machine, and if he keeps shooting,
Shut up.
Yeah, I will end you, demon.
This morning, I wanted a frap, and they wouldn't make it.
Every time I come here, you're buying a frap. It's not important to get a frap.
But it makes me happy.
Big fat deal.
Seriously, there must be something that makes you happy.
Not really.
A pickle?
Mm-mm.
The zoo?
Never.
A sassy vagrant? 6 kittens in a bag of water? Poop on a stick?
That's disgusting.
Are you serious?
You're so freaking weird.
I like monkey. You're the monkey.
That's nice.
Your chest is very hairy.
Yeah, you like that?
You better believe it, babe.
We ought to hang out tonight.
I get off in 1 hour.
Okay. I'll be over there at the bar just being hairy. Come on. Man, cut my jacket with his nail.
You know, I'll turn this ship around.
He's always touching on me. I'm not. I licked your fries. My fries.
I'm coming back.
Yes, destroy them both.
Don't fight the war, you'll just wear yourself out. He'll get your autograph.
Can I buy you a drink? Whatever, weird girl. It would be great if we could play with my kissy bits. I always have real funky breath. I wonder what you smell like. Guess like cinnamon and something. You push the lotion on its skin. You get it? Guess not.
Meow, 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 meow.
Learn how to speak.
Meow, 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 meow.
Does anybody understand what he says?
He's got some kind of stupid accent, I think.
An accent.
I shot a clown.
I feel like that's not related.
I don't know.
Yeah, we can hear you. Ugh.
I think Robert stole his sister's trinkets, and he's embarrassed.
He's an idiot.
Meow, 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 meow.
Actually, I think he said tomorrow is his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Bill. I don't mean that. What do we got there?
Ninjas.
Did you say ninja?
Yeah?
They have karate and can snap your shins clean.
Serious? I'm scared now, right?
They'll pluck out our eyelids.
Wait, could you still fall asleep?
How were those your first words?
I doubt you could.
Oh, really? No?
You know what? I tried to make chocolate shoes.
Why? Because the guy's a tool and he most likely sleeps in an L position.
Hey, listen, baby, you know I need that puppet bird.
I think you'd better run along before it gets dark.
You know, I can see your nads.
Uh-oh.
They have a gift shop?
Yeah.
Be right back.
Did that shop have any food?
Or a hat? Or like a cool belt buckle?
Or maybe a bacon flute?
Yes.
No, but try this.
Why is your neck wet?
I don't want to relive it.
They got a sick blouse on sale. You've been really bad company.
I made you a bird. It's a finger puppet. As you can see, I never painted it. I would have given it to you, but you've never trusted birds. Quit looking at me like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll just go home and have celery.
Look, he likes it. Uh-oh. This bird picked out your eyes.
That's something different.
No, I'm a Vulcan.
Vulcan, my ass.
Welcome back, folks.
Can everybody hear me this time?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. Can the audience hear you?
Yeah, that's probably the more important thing, right? The audience
Russell's
should be able
still
to hear
checking
me.
the stream. Russell's still checking the stream. I'm ignoring it. I can hear you.
I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll mute my microphone for a second and I'll turn on the
No,
sound.
don't
No, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything.
No,
Tony says it's all working. It's all working. It's all
Awesome.
working. We're here. Yay.
I'm part of the show,
Finally.
guys. All right.
That's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be. All right. I need to go back a bit because I was just first so many things. Okay. I was trying to deal with all the audio issues and the video issues, and I missed like a lot of what you said. And I want to go back to the treasure that Mike was talking about. Did we talk about that enough?
Right.
Did we tell everybody everything about that?
What about
Blackbeard's
dildo?
We did talk
That's
about
right.
that.
I did hear the word dildo a lot.
You want to know more about Blackbeard's dildo?
I think I heard dildo quite a lot for 3 guys that were talking about treasure. So let's expand upon this.
Right.
Okay, so there's
All right.
diamonds. There's what else?
Yep.
Actual silver, he said.
Silver, gold, and diamonds, a bunch of other stuff, a 9 Inch Nails CD, and Blackbeard's dildo.
Wait, okay, wait. Which 9 Inch Nails CD?
That's a good
Is that part of the treasure?
It's gonna be in the treasure. It's
I mean,
canon,
is it part of the
so-
surprise? Sorry, is it part of the surprise?
Which 9 Inch Nails CD I decided to put in it? Yes.
Yes.
It is a surprise. Which
You
one is in
know-
the bargain?
That could
rack?
vastly change the actual.
Let me ask
value.
you. Let me ask you, kids.
The value of the
what's-
treasure could change vastly.
Which 9 Inch Nails album do you think it is?
Whichever
Or
one
should
has
it be?
closer on it, because I can't remember the name of the album.
Okay.
Well then.
What is that? Spiral? Downward Spiral? Is that what's that the name of the album? Anyway. Okay, so there's 9 Inch Nails, diamond, silver, a dildo, which we talked quite a lot about.
Blackbeard's.
Okay.
Blackbeard's wooden dildo.
And then what else did we
hand
talk
carved.
about it? Is it already hidden? Did we talk about the details?
I think it's whittled, not carved.
is.
It's whittled.
It's whittled by hand, and whoever whittled has put their time and energy and effort into whittling this wonderful dick.
That's amazing.
And the veins go clockwise on this hemisphere.
I'm sure whoever whittled it was, while they were whittling it, they were wondering what they were really doing with their lives and trying to figure out the existential crisis that goes along with it.
Dick.
Doc,
Wow.
if it goes clockwise,
I'm
does
waiting
that
for
mean
all-
it came from the northern hemisphere?
That's what we've been discussing
Oh, okay.
about veins. Yes.
Oh, I love this. Okay. All right. So wait, did we talk about the fact that, the hidden and finding it and all that stuff? Did we talk about that?
Yes. And yes, we actually
Okay.
our listeners got a clue that it will actually be in Florida.
Okay.
Because there's a possibility with Jeremy traveling that it could have been anywhere.
And this is one of
that's
many
big.
treasures.
That's big.
We're going to be doing multiple. Once this treasure gets found, we're going to be burying a bigger, better treasure, and it's just going to get bigger and better every time we bury a treasure.
And as I'm saying, they could go anywhere too. These treasures, I think, too.
You could send me some in New Zealand to bury if you like.
As I'm saying, it could go worldwide. It could get
Don't be
crazy.
surprised if I'm the one that finds it.
Am I spoiling
Better
anything?
not
I'm
be.
thinking, okay, something that has a dildo in it and other things is probably like the size of a shoebox at least, right? So whoever finds it,
Whips, chips,
they will
chains, dip.
know. They will know that they've found treasure, right? Like it's somehow marked. Does it have a note in it? Like how will people know that they've come across
Yep.
treasure and not just
Right.
someone's
It has-
thrown away dildo?
It's got
right.
Yep.
That's a great
Okay.
question.
Well, it'll have a note in it. It'll have a full list of things that whoever finds the treasure, will have to contact us because we want to talk to whoever finds the treasure. We want to have
Right.
them on our show, find out because let's be honest. I'm gonna hide some clues. I'm gonna bury it as best as I can. It might just get picked up by a random person one day, and if that happens, which is completely possible. That person also needs to know what they need to do when they find it.
Now,
Adam Mean wants to know is perhaps it's a runic dildo, says Adam.
Oh, that's interesting.
could be
Now,
runic.
is there a plan B if
You need
let's
an
say,
ammo case. An ammo case, so it's weatherproof. Where are you hiding this thing?
It's a weatherproof box.
Okay.
Weatherproof box.
Bags, snap lock bags.
Is there like a time
inside as
limit,
well,
or is there?
I think is important.
Is there a plan B if someone finds it but then never calls in?
Yeah, is there a time lock on this?
Well, it's we're going to be hiding the
treasure.
clues, and since I know where it is, I will occasionally check to see if it's still there.
Oh, that's another hint, folks. If you know Mike, you need to like follow him all the time, stalk him, because you might find where the treasure is.
It's got to be within a certain radius of his house, right? I mean, he's not going to drive more than how many miles?
Look at all these clues we're ruining his treasure.
You have no idea how far I'm willing to drive.
We're going to have to dox the shit out of you to figure out where you put this shit.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure
nothing out of me.
that we talked about it enough, because I have been super hyped about this treasure for so long, knowing that we were going to do this show, and then to just have it kind of like go bloop, and then by the time I get to fix my audio somewhat, I realize we're done talking about it, and I think it deserved more airtime. So there we go. That's that.
That's true. That's true. As much as we said we were prepared beforehand for this show, we were here early.
Yeah.
What we meant to say is that Amber was prepared, and we were prepared to go along with whatever.
Well,
she said.
we were, and we said we were going to go with Mike and his treasure first, and she knew she was missing it while we were laughing, and
I know. Yeah, you guys can see my face.
sorry
and
about
but
that.
anyway, no, that's fine. Okay, all right, cool. So super cool treasure, folks. Go to Florida and look for it. And if you find out what the Nine Inch Nails album is, please tell me.
Does the treasure have any distinctive smells?
Ooh, do we want to know that?
Yes.
No. The answer is just yes.
The answer is just yes.
I mean, could you use a bomb sniffing dog to find this treasure? It's possible. You know,
possible. Yeah. What about like radar and sonar and echolocation shit?
Now I'm worried that people are going to give dildos to their bomb sniffing dogs, and everyone with dildos is going to have dogs on their properties now.
This dildo's one of a kind.
Okay.
It's one of a kind.
Got it.
Right. Blackbeard's dick.
Hand carved, hand whittled.
It's a fine maple dick is what it is.
We knew he had a peg leg, but this is a whole new thing.
Yes. What? Wait, did I miss something about a peg leg? Okay, wait. Now.
Well, Blackbeard is a pirate, right? He's probably got a peg leg. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Edward Teach was missing his leg.
Shut up,
I don't
Mike.
believe it was.
Stop talking.
Okay, so now I want to go back to the break. I want to go back to the break real quick. So for those of you that, by the way, I just have to say, I am so proud of our viewers tonight, because whenever we drop the stream and then restart, we lose about half of our live viewers. So thank you to everyone who has stuck around. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also, if you watched the break, we had our featured band, Motionless in White. So just in case you missed that, you're going to want to check them out. We had our music parody.
I do have to check. I missed them. I did miss them. I have to check them out.
Yeah. Oh, it was a good video. And anybody who loves werewolves and lycanthropy, you're going to love that video. And then there was a little.
I definitely want to check it out.
There was a little shout out to Mike's podcast there, so I wanted to call it out in the comment. If you're not making the connection, because I didn't. Okay, by the way, I've worked for Dungeon Studios for a little while now.
The Jizzy Pod?
I
didn't
did
know
not.
What the Jizzy Pod was?
I didn't know the
Jizzy
Pod.
See, because you're not in on the secret.
No. I've seen the letters that they.
No.
But
you're
I just didn't
a
make
poser.
the connection.
You don't know the truth.
I didn't know the connection that Mike was that Mike, until recently.
Mike.
So
that Mike.
That guy. So, you want to watch out for that guy and check out his podcast. Okay.
Right.
Oh, and God and Angel.
Mike and Jeremy do steal some pretty cool podcasts.
Yes. And then God and Angel comedy skit. You want to check them out too. They're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. They prefer you go find them on Instagram and TikTok, because that's where they think they get the most engagement. They are at God
and they have a huge following too, by the way.
_Angel on both platforms. And yes, they do have.
Shocked at the following they have. Yeah,
they're super funny.
They're wow, it's so funny. It's so funny. I've been really wondering if anyone's done where they copped that from. I feel like I've seen that kind of skit before.
What, God and
Maggie
Angel?
Tolbertson says your visuals went very fuzzy. That is probably the compression rate and the internet speeds either between us and the server or the server and you. So we're not much we can do about it.
You know what? I'm just gonna take it because fuzzy is much better than like me doing this all night. Because you know that was fun. But
yeah, I was thinking that's not so cool for folks.
Right.
All right, let's get back to
we're talking
it.
about treasure, yeah.
Yeah, treasure. So you guys talked about treasure as far as like gold and money and value and stuff like that. But I think we also wanted to talk about ways you can reward your players without treasure. Did you guys talk about that?
Right.
Did I miss it?
Right. We reward them with friends.
The friends you make along the way.
And friendship.
You know, I would want something a little more.
No, we started to.
You want more than friends? What about? I have here the ancestral weapons catalog book thing from the DM's Guild, which I think is. I just hit myself in the face with that.
That was enjoyable.
It's got rules in it. Well, shut up. It's I'm all flustered now.
I'm sorry.
It's basically a set of rules for you and your players to collaboratively work together to design an ancestral magic item for a character. And it has a system where you spend points to purchase powers for your ancestral weapon. And as you level up, you get more points to add to your ancestral weapon, which I think is pretty cool. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. And I've had various players.
That would be a neat treasure. That would be kind of a cool treasure.
Right.
I'm personally of the opinion that I would rather give my players an ancestral thing like that was a bit OP than give them 3 million different small magic items and lots of different stuff. I mean, I'd rather have a low magic scenario with less treasure generally, but they have their thing that they got to help design.
So let me ask you a question real quick, because I thought about this when I was putting the notes together. Do you all, how do you all feel about like weapons, armor, items? That's not considered treasure, or that is considered treasure?
Absolutely, yeah, treasure. Absolutely, it is treasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that's what I was trying to figure out. Was like, so
let me ask you a question. Why would it not be considered treasure?
Well, I'm trying to figure out where people differentiate when we're talking about rewards for your players that are treasure versus rewards for your players that aren't treasure. What's the defining line? Is it that it's a physical item? Is it a magic item? Is it something that just has gold value? Like, what's defining treasure?
I think it depends too. I think that's important.
Sell it?
I think it's going to be like something like armor too, and I'm using it as treasure. I'm going to say something like the armor is decorated in a gold patina and is worth this much. Not just going to say it's armor, or it's a battle axe. This battle axe has a jeweled handle,
right?
And I find that those treasures, like the thing Russell's talking about, sort of become like the character's heirloom in a way. It's more than just a treasure. They might not trade it for the gold value.
And I hate giving out treasure that's like, oh, here's a +1 thing, here's a +2 thing, or here's a thing straight out of the monster manual, or sorry, the DM's guide that everybody's read. Right. Everybody wants, 5 different things from the DM's guide. I would rather, for me, magic items need to be kind of connected to the world and to the lore and have something a little bit more to them than that. Right. For example, there's a sword in my world called Sorrow. And if you attune to it and you start using it, it's a moonblade. Every time you use it, you cry. You're crying for the elves that have died over the thousands of years, what have you, blah,
Can
blah, blah.
Can you cry but not be sad?
Well,
do you have to be sad?
So you're just slashing the enemies.
That's what I was wondering about. Like, do you have to be sad, or is it like
doing
happy
right now is
that does happen.
It does happen, and it could go that way too. But it is called sorrow, so it does kind of evoke this thing.
Interesting.
In people, you can also use it, and it only works against elves. But you can cause all the elves in like a 60-foot radius to fall to their knees and be incapacitated with sorrow. Great for throne rooms. Hint, hint. So, you know, if you happen to be in the
Where's Avery?
yeah.
Hint, hint.
Where's Avery?
Fred, I am going to a throne room this week. I'll keep that in mind.
I will keep that in mind. Yes, what?
So the reason I asked was because if like a lot of these items that we're talking about, you know, armor, weapons, whatever, even if they're magical, like that's all treasure. Have you guys talked about, or somebody mentioned in the chat, I think someone just said it, loot versus treasure, right? What about
loot versus treasure, right?
What about the things that, like, I don't want to say they're not physical, but they're not treasure. So for example, you can gift your players with, they did some great task. They killed the dragon, and now I doth you, sir, something, something, buddy,
right,
whatever.
Like title,
and now
a title. Okay, a title.
You have a keep. You know, now I'm giving you a keep, or I'm giving you land, or I'm giving you an airship, or whatever. Like, well, I guess that's kind of, it's a physical
great example
item.
Of this.
Go ahead. I was just curious. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, first of all, Avery, his character in one of my games, has been given a castle. He's a landowner, but it's miles away, and his character hasn't even been there yet. But he is effectively an actual noble now that he's been gifted this title. He's never been to this location, so he doesn't really know how much of a shithole it is yet. But that's okay. He'll find out in the game. Another character who Avery knows, Murag, he found a deed to a plot of land in the center of the elven capital. That sounds great, except that Murag is an orc. So that's not going to go down very well.
That's not going to work, huh?
The elven capital is like, where's my land? You know?
Well, it could work out like the Middle East. It could work out.
By law, okay, now I got to ask, how would that play out? By law, you have a deed, but you're not elven?
That's what I'm saying.
Right, they will have to abide by the deed, I suspect, and
it would work out very interestingly.
Yeah,
that sounds really cool.
It comes down to some role playing at the end of the day. You know, I let the role playing dictate the story. At the end of the day, I'm not going to sort of prejudge it. I want to see what people say and feel what the NPCs have to say in response to that, and get the kind of gist of the moment from that, I guess, rather than trying to pre-plan and say, oh, it's not going to work.
Right.
You know, definitely there's a chance for it to work, but there's also a big chance for it to fuck up badly.
Yeah.
So Amber, you're asking about other things as treasure. I was mentioning before the break, the other thing from the GM binder Russell and I have been talking about is the I forget what it's called now. Creature treasures. And when they've gone through the 5e monsters and put everything that might be of value, like a certain creature's teeth is worth this much.
Okay.
Right. Harvesting
parts,
from monsters and stuff.
Yeah. So a lot of people find that as a very interesting way to like acquire treasures and to experience the game as a reward. So that's kind of.
I actually
have a player who's been carving dragon bones for some time now.
Right. I was going to say, I have had a player before where they were very interested in monster parts and would get really creative with, like, I'm trying to think. There was a monster that they fought that had, like, acid blood or something, and then they tried to, like, collect it and then apply it to their weapons and stuff, which didn't necessarily work quite the way that they thought. But it was really interesting to see that, you know, they're thinking outside the box and trying to apply these monster parts to their weapons and armor and things.
I hear Michael Riley's quite keen on monster parts.
Yeah, like pirate dildos.
Right, like Blackbeard's dildo.
By the way, okay, you guys mentioned the peg leg.
Treasure, good for any loot.
You mentioned the peg leg, and the first thing that popped into my brain was, how cool would it be to have a peg leg where there's an insert in the peg leg, so if you ever need your dildo, you can just whip that bad boy out of your leg. I don't know.
Whip it out.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, why just cut out the middle, man? Just make the dick the leg.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Wait, but there's got to be a foot. Don't you think there should be a foot? Should there not be?
There was a video game based on an anime at some point. There's a character with a machine gun.
Oh my god!
Does anyone remember that?
Who? What is it?
Wasn't that was that what's his name? The filmmaker. Pulp Fiction,
Didn't
Quentin
Blackbeard,
Tarantino.
didn't Blackbeard have a peg leg?
He copied it, yeah, for sure. But it was in an anime before that.
Oh, was it an anime before that?
Blackbeard have
I'm a big
peg
anime
leg?
nerd, but I missed
I don't
half
know,
of what you
dude.
said.
No.
I don't think Blackbeard had a peg leg.
Okay.
To be fair, I did say that earlier, but I was just being.
We'll just call him Bluebeard.
Yeah. Bluebeard.
But anyway, what about like
Anyway.
tattoos or some kind of a mark of prestige, you know, given to you by, you know, this kingdom so that everyone recognizes you belong here. Like that could be a reward.
I want to talk so much about this, but I don't want to just be the one talking all the time.
You can
talk. You guys.
I'll cut you off. Make it quick.
All right.
You get 10 words. Make it fit. 10 words.
Okay. I have a tattoo system for my world. And some of my players.
Of course you do. Of course
yes,
you do.
And it's better than that nonsense in Tasha's guide because that's fucking silly. Honestly, why would you create a tattoo system where you could remove tattoos? That defeats the whole point of tattoos. The whole idea.
That does. I have to agree with you on that one, Russell. If you don't want to talk the whole time, there's no way you should be able to remove a tattoo.
Right.
So
Exactly.
your system, you
So
can't.
they need to be-
Your
they need to
system,
be
you can't
permanent.
remove it.
Okay, I'm gonna go against you guys though because D&D is all about like, you know, imagination and your mind. In the real world, you can't remove a tattoo. If I'm gonna play in a magic world, I want to be able to take off my tattoo if I want, because it's
Well,
magic.
then it's a magic tattoo. It ain't a tattoo.
Oh,
Call it
there's
something
magic
else.
tattoos. There are
Not a
magic
tattoo.
tattoos.
That's just henna.
Just make it a henna tattoo. That's all you got.
Then it doesn't have as much power because it's not a real tattoo.
I mean, I come from New
That's the way
Zealand.
my
Where,
word.
here in New Zealand, there is a strong culture of tattoos, right? You've probably seen Maori people with tattoos on their faces, what we call mokos. You know, there's a big culture in the Pacific Islands. I might be wrong, but I have a feeling they might be the first people in the world to use tattoos like that.
Really?
And so from my point of view, at least, tattoos are something that are sacred. You don't just put them on and have like a pretty picture on your body and walk around with it. It's tied into your ancestry and your traditions and your magic and all of this stuff. It's extremely sacred. You don't go around just putting them on and taking them off like you just take it that
Real
way.
well spoken on Native Peoples Day. Thank you. It is Native
Stand
Peoples
by
Day.
your
It absolutely
There you go.
It is Native Peoples Day, and he's absolutely right.
I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion, and you know, I have a thing about my unsolicited opinion.
I was gonna
and
say you've used
I'll
that
let
up, so
out.
you
That's
can't talk
okay.
about it anymore. You've done your unsolicited opinion.
Russ, we could take this the next step further. If you have the tattoo system in your game, force your player to get the real tattoo in real life in order to use it in the game.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna do that. That's great. You hear that, Avery? You're fucked.
That's what we needed Mike here for.
Yeah,
that's what we needed Mike here for. I love it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
next thing,
No,
what about getting training or something that progresses your character? So you get to get proficiency in a chosen skill, like if you role played that you trained in it, or you get some
Well, you
kind
know
of
what
an
we talk
increase
about,
in your
Amber.
score.
Kind of what we do for our level ups. We sort of use a combination of experience and situation.
Mm-hmm.
So where you might have enough experience to go up, but you're in the middle of a dungeon crawl, or you're in the middle of battle or whatever. A couple adventures later, in between, or when an adventure ends, that's when we sort of have that whole thing happen. We have revelry and training, and that whole thing becomes sort of like, what would you call it? Like secondary play,
Right.
Downtime.
Yeah, we
gotta
had
put
that
it more
discussion
into
before with downtime, where this was kind of a generational thing with D&D. I think training was a part of it, and now it's not really anything that we do in 5e. So now I guess you can kind of make it a reward.
I see it as a reward, though, is also giving characters a specific skill that they wouldn't necessarily get in the 5e rules.
Feats work for this.
Yeah. So
I always hated that you go on an adventure, sail, and then you didn't know how to sail the next time you were on a boat.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Never make.
That's
never
a
made
great.
sense
That's
to
a
me.
great point.
And then you get these dirty phantom rogues that can change their stats, their skills overnight with a long rest. Like, today I'm gonna, I don't know, sneak around and pick pockets. Tomorrow arcana expert and a, you know, something else. Who knows? You could learn tools as well, apparently. So
yeah,
I really feel like treasure, though. I've really cut way back on treasure, I think. And I've gone more to specific types of like really cool, groovy treasures.
Right.
I have this one. It's a little box and it has a little bug in it, little gold bug. And when you pull the gold bug out, it animates and it locates gold.
Ooh,
so just that little thing
cool.
is that's kind of like a cool little treasure, and then helps adventurers just, where is that? Oh, put it down. It'll help lead them in different directions. So I like things like that kind of help play the game along.
So that's
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say. So I gave my husband his character this rubber ball. And the only ability this rubber ball has is that when he throws it, it will immediately return to the closest person, living person, I think is what it said. I can't remember the exact words, and he can probably correct me if he's in here. But he has used that way many more times than I ever thought possible to go into a dungeon and just roll the ball in the room and see if it comes back to him. Because if it doesn't, then he's like, oh, there's somebody here. And I'm like, God dang it. How can you use this item against me? But it's really cool. I like that. Let's see.
I found lots of little neat, I had a crystal skull that they thought was valuable treasure, but it turned out to be a key to something else.
Yeah.
Like the Phantom movie.
So they have to decide, is this treasure or is this...
Billy Zane.
I don't remember it. That's the thing. I'm gonna have to rewatch it now.
People in the chat talking about removing tattoos. I'm just going to go back to this for a moment. Sorry, guys. Now, I do have a system where you can remove tattoos in my game, to be fair, and it does involve magic. A greater restoration spell will do it. But
we'll remove the tattoo.
Greater restoration. Yeah.
Are they saying you can remove tattoos? Is that what they're saying?
Tony's saying he's okay with removing tattoos, but there has to be a cost and effort involved. I agree. A greater restoration is the cost and effort involved. And, you know, if it's a magical tattoo that happens to be unstable, well,
you take him to a sorcerer. The sorcerer has to use disintegration, and you may or may not survive.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like this is where
you can always just cut off your arm.
Old school DM will have
and
a
then
lot
you can
of fun
regenerate
with...
it magically.
Right, with greater restoration.
With greater restoration. So wait, are you saying that's how you do it? Do you guys cut off limbs? Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It could be a limb, or it could just be, you know, a bit of the old skinning alive.
Ooh, yeah. Actually, that was almost in a book I was going to write. I was going to have someone be...
How did we get onto that?
I know. But someone who was going to be like a vigilante hero person who is basically going around killing people for these magical tattoos and grafting them onto his body so that then he has all these powers. Anyway, tattoos. Right. Awesome.
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Well, tattoos are great. You can have tattoos that resonate with other members of your party. I want to start a one-shot, actually, where the very first scene, all of the players have to work together to come up with an oath that they sign at the very, very first scene. And then the rest of the one-shot's based around that oath that they make up. And they get tattoos when they get their oath as well. And those tattoos resonate with each other so that when they're within 30 feet of each other or any number of things. Anyway, that's a whole episode.
See, that's not what I thought. I was thinking it would be more like...
never eat any more bananas.
Have you guys ever used
with each other? You can come up with your own shit.
No,
have you guys ever used an ability score improvement as a treasure?
No, although I don't rule it out. It's just not come up like thematically, narratively in the story.
Russell's poising on that.
I'm saying feats kind of do that.
You're saying feats, you use feats for that kind of purpose.
You can use feats that way if you want. Yeah. I mean, there are magic items that do it too.
Yeah, I guess I have a magical circle in this one campaign I play with the Girl Scouts where they can go and there's sigils on these monoliths and they can get like a temporary boon to their abilities or whatever. And they're trying to figure out what they are. It's kind of a treasure.
So what do you think of having a place like I've been working on locations that have magic powers. So there's like a room that you can do things in. Like, for example, scrying works particularly well in this particular room. but not anywhere else. Or teleportation circles is an obvious example too.
Yeah.
Is that knowing where these places are, having access to them is a kind of treasure. Having
right, exactly, yes, or even having bits of knowledge that smoke in the room is going to keep the demon trapped in the cellar. That's a treasure in itself. Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to get to was, lore and like secret knowledge, info that you would only get from like a certain person, but maybe they won't give you the information until you do a quest for them. So you do the quest and your reward is now you get this information that you needed.
Now that was interesting. Russell just mentioned under breath, he said ciphers. Giving your players the ability to read a language is a huge reward sometimes in situations.
Language.
They don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Or like a dictionary, like a dictionary to get through dwarf. So if they meet a dwarf, they could at least.
Yeah, I mean, in my game, I have the Red Fangs of Shargas. They communicate between their various camps using smoke signals, which the players did not understand until they looted one of their camps and stole their cipher. And now they can decode the Red Fang smoke signals, which
that's great.
Makes life easy
I
for
want to
them.
go back to the locations that you brought up because I hadn't thought about locations as treasure, but Avery brought up a good point, which now makes me think, yes, locations as treasure. A room that speeds up attunement. That's a really cool
in a temple,
idea.
for example.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Also, I think Josh said a boon can be a good treasure. We hadn't gotten to that yet, but yes, boons, blessings, getting a wish, getting favors from somebody with influence, all of that. It's super cool.
A map or a guide. You know, that was the whole driving force of Ahsoka was she got that map to go to the other galaxy, and they found the place. That was another they could all be considered treasures.
As you know, sorry, Mike.
I was just gonna add the game that I wrote for a lot of the loot that I had in for like big boss fights and stuff like that. I chopped up main bits of treasure that I wanted them to have, but I didn't want them to have it all at once. So I would leave components of certain, like say for like a magical weapon or something that, I would leave components of that weapon as treasure along the way. Eventually they could assemble it,
unlock
after
it.
they,
Ooh,
and then start using it when they are going to start fighting higher level things.
Yes, I like that. That's a good way to kind of like do the delayed gratification kind of thing. Is like they got treasure, can't use it yet, but if you keep doing it.
I was going to say too, like we're talking about D&D treasure mostly at the moment, and as you know, I play a lot of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yep.
And I don't really give out treasure in Vampire. It's not really a thing. I mean, players get money, but money's not really treasure to vampires. It comes and goes like water. Blood, similarly, is treasure. In fact, one of the greatest treasures you get in Vampire is when you get to diabolarize another vampire and you get to lower your generation. So you drink the blood of a more powerful vampire and kill them, and there's a chance it will drive you mad or even kill you. But if you're lucky, you will get to lower your generation and become closer to Cain, which makes you more powerful. So that's
in a subgenre. I play Mask of the Red Death, sort of, in the horror genre in the 1890s. And getting treasure might be, you break into the distillery and you guys get a bunch of booze or something, or there's a big gambling heist you get caught up in, or so there's kind of treasure that way, in a game like that. If you're playing Cthulhu or something.
I was going to say, what do you give for treasure in Cthulhu? What can you give?
You might find a suitcase full of money, but then the suitcase itself could be, opening the suitcase is maddening.
Right.
Is that really a reward, though? Yeah, in Call of Cthulhu, I feel like the only reward you can give is like sanity or temporary sanity.
Right.
Well, and again, even in like a dystopian game, I always like crystals and minerals as treasure myself.
Do you guys track ammunition?
Depends on my players.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a reward. I don't tend to track ammunition often, but
I actually, so I have that for one of my players because she wanted to be an old man. She plays an old man rogue that basically wants to be able to like and throw daggers all the time. And I said, that's okay, but they're going to be like, they're not going to be super strong daggers, and I will give you a little like bracer of infinite little tiny daggers that you can just pull out and throw whenever you want. So that was kind of a special thing.
She does temporary tattoos, remember?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Temporary tattoos, infinite daggers. I see where this is going.
It's okay. Sorry, Amber.
Anyway, no.
Go ahead.
So let's see what else. What are we talking about? We talked about keeps, airships, tavern, property and land. What about a pet? Have you given anybody a pet?
I got pets. I was just about to say I
was waiting to bring up pets.
Oh yeah,
I can't.
Maybe owlbears.
You can't do owlbears? Is that what you said?
I said baby owlbears.
Oh, baby owlbears.
Do they come from eggs? Do owlbears come from eggs?
That's a good
I'm
question.
going to say yes.
You're going to say yes?
But
is it more of an owl birth? Is it more of a bear birth?
That is one for fantastical geographic.
That is.
I'm going
to say no because the main body is a bear. So I'm going to say no. And also just for the sake of female owl bears, no.
Right.
I think it has to do, Mike. Let's talk to the doctor here. I think it technically has to do with how much owl there is and how much bear there is.
Listen, the one mammal that lives on our planet, the platypus, it's got a duck bill and poops out eggs.
You're right. But
that is a good point.
With the owl bear, it's gonna be based on percentage of bear versus owl, because that could be a whole campaign.
Most of the platypus is a beaver.
An owl that's more like a bear or a bear that's more like an owl. They're two different creatures.
God dang it. I feel like Mike might have changed my mind. That is phenomenal. Dang it. Yeah. I'm going to have to think about this a little bit more.
Yeah. My intuition said eggs too, to be fair, but I don't know. I mean, it could go either way.
But could you imagine playing in a game and finding a huge egg and thinking that you found a dragon egg only to find out that it was an owlbear egg? Like... I mean, it could be a good thing.
Or that it was a Russian egg.
Well, and the mystery of what an egg is just a great scenario for any campaign.
You can get an owlbear egg in Baldur's Gate 3, according to Avery. So I feel like since that's a D&D product, does that answer our question for us?
That makes it canon, doesn't it? I mean,
I'm going to still say it depends how much air and how I could still go with that. I can still go with mine. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say where's the it's the anatomy, right? Where, babies coming out there.
We're not talking about treasure anymore, guys. We're going on.
No, I got another treasure for Amber. That's sort of animal. She said animal, and I have sort of animal. It's actually nicknamed Snuffles. And this is actually what's called a beast of holding. And this is a little trunk that has dog legs and a tail.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows these characters around, and it carries stuff for them. I'm even
so it's kind of like a pack animal?
It's like a trunk with it's half trunk, half dog.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was like a goose. You just reach into the goose's like.
Okay, like Baba Yaga's hut.
This is the luggage. You're talking about the luggage from Terry Pratchett, aren't you?
Yeah, very similar to the luggage in Terry Pratchett. But then there's different beasts of holding. So there could be like a little songbird that can only carry like a ring to a lover. Stops and opens up for a little ring. Right. But then there's Snuffles, who's a little bit bigger. He's a dog. Maybe you could have a hippopotamus so this thing could hide underwater. I don't know.
Does that lay eggs?
Maybe if it was a platypus, Mike.
Okay. Does anybody here lay eggs?
It's not hippopotamus.
No. So I had a ring in one of my games kind of recently where the players came across an individual. They went to do banking, actually, and they came across an individual that was making this magic ring, which turned out to be whoever was attuned to it would not be able to lie. and he was making the ring for this noble's wedding, and this noble was going to give it to his wife. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but the players decided they wanted to steal it, so that all went a whole other different direction at that point. But you know, that was a bit different. No comments. No, fine. Okay, that was a good idea. I'll take it all back.
But do you get people that not lie? That's the question. Like, do you get players who play it right?
Can you? Well, yeah, great question. Without metagaming,
right?
That becomes the issue, I think, for items like that.
Right.
So let's
okay.
We're kind of at the tail end of the show, so I kind of want to talk about real quick if we've missed anything for treasure and non-treasure folks, let us know in the chat. But Doc, did you do your magical Q&A? Do we have some time for some magical Q&A?
No, I have not done magical Q&A.
Yeah, let's
there's time. I'm game.
Let's do that real quick, and then I think
dive right in.
Unless there's anything else to do with treasure, I think let's do that.
All right, so I kind of did not do treasure. We talked about treasure before. I was talking about the copper pieces. This is really reality, but I like to talk about magical Q&A, things that are from the world of magic, and it's Halloween time. So let's talk about witches, okay? And why do witches ride brooms? Any of you guys?
Well,
on brooms.
Does it have anything to do with Blackbeard's dildo?
I might.
If it was long enough, you know.
It might. We'll get there, Russell. It might. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I didn't say that. Okay, so why?
We'll see. Go ahead. Go ahead. What do you know any connections to? What's your connection to witches and brooms?
I would think it's because brooms float, and so therefore witches float. Like, I think I remember something like that.
Michael Riley, what's your connection? Why do you associate witches with brooms? Is something
witches. The witch was in. She was in her kitchen and she was cleaning up, and then she was like, "Fuck this shit! I'm gonna cast a spooky spell and get the fuck out of here." And then she cast a flying spell on the broom because that's what she was holding at the time. And
that's where it came from. All right, so you're saying domesticality brought about.
It sounds like he's saying it was based off truth. A witch actually used a broom.
And then Russell, what do you say? What's your associations to witches and brooms?
Okay, well, I think that everybody has thrown in some pretty good stuff there, and I think probably the reality is somewhere in between these things. And I think that it would be an oversight to not look at the sexual symbolism that was also present in the conversation. I think that's
absolutely, Russell. That's why I kind of chuckled when Amber made her joke, like she didn't want to say what she didn't want to say.
Yeah,
but it may actually have.
Oh man, did I really hit the truth?
Yeah, it may have a lot of influence.
Brooms are dildos.
Well, let's talk about in reality where the first reference for witches and brooms come from. Okay. And you go to the Bible, which is really funny because we talked about this before in another show in a magical Q&A in the book of Endor, where the witches appear, which we talked about, the documentation of magic.
The Ewoks.
The Endor, yeah, right? And the Emperor and everything. Well, anyway, right back to that connection again. That is where they mention them actually on sticks. And then there's some, on long poles,
like
right?
Strippers.
And it's funny that you then said you mentioned the length of the pole, which became a big thing. And then I guess you go to France, and in their national library, there are some like ancient paintings that have these women from Endor, from this passage in the Bible. Some are flying on brooms and some are riding sticks.
Okay.
So that takes us to like some ancient texts that sort of put it out there.
They're riding.
They're
now
riding.
the other. Well, the other thing they talk about this woman, Lady Alice Ketteler, 1324 on charges of heresy and slaughter. According to history.com, they discover ointments where she would grease a staff and she would gallop upon the staff. And all
what do you think that means?
And she would put all people under all sorts of spells. And so, you know,
no, people were just swayed by what they were looking at. That's all. She's greasing a pole.
And then women would, and women would get charged for unlawful. Women would get charged for unlawful carnal knowledge, F-U-C-K. And that's how that got associated with Satan and witchcraft.
Wait, is that really the origin of the word? That's not really the origin of the
for
word.
Unlawful carnal.
F-U-C-K.
Well, the word "fuck" is a
for unlawful carnal knowledge.
Word, isn't it?
It's an anagram of for unlawful carnal knowledge.
Hmm.
I had no idea.
I wasn't talking about magic. Anyway, so anyway, yeah. So then they were talking about some of these herbs and stuff going on, and then I had the list here going into it now. But then I guess they decided to try to reenact this person. So here it is. So they tried to reenact, a modern person decided to reenact this woman's hallucinogenic mixtures, went and found it in the texts, which was a mixture of nightshade, mandrake, henbane, and then they covered themselves. And sure enough, this person ended up passing out, having a massive trip out, you know, because these are all hallucinogenic substances.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Right.
Or poisons.
So, you know, here was this. So,
yeah, the nightshade's very toxic. I
Well, the difference between a poison and a medicine is kind of all about the quantity.
It can be borderline. So here's this woman in 1324 doing this with a big pole or whatever. And I will put out there, because, you know, in my research going down here about magic brooms and everything, I guess Harry Potter ran into a problem at some point when they released a vibrating broom that they had to take off the market.
Yep.
Because young ladies were tending to have a great time with this device.
Right.
So,
well, yeah.
So
what kind of batteries did that thing take?
Oh no!
I'm curious.
Oh no! Now, put all that aside. Put all the sexual stuff aside. It actually can even be traced back to men, and they're believing that it can be traced back to men before these Endor treatments, where men who were trying to harvest crops would try to jump as high as their crops would grow, and they would use the article that they were farming with. But many farmers stopped using things like pitchforks and reapers because, whoops, I slipped when I was trying to jump and do my see.
Wait, so is this now the origin of jumping the broom? No?
Hold my beer.
Well, no, and then there's a crossover here, you know, reading about the broom and then the witch and then the farmer. It also crosses into voodoo tradition and then the crossing of the broom. So all these things sort of all kind of mismatch in that, you know, colonial period of upheaval and triangle trade.
Interesting.
Everything goes crazy. But then, of course, they really attribute most of American pop culture to popularizing it with the Wizard of Oz, the witch riding the broom, and then, of course, believe it or not, Archie Comics had Sabrina the Witch before big TV media that really helped solidify. And then Bewitched came out in the opening credits. She flies a broom. So these things just kept solidifying, you know, broom, 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 broom. And that's why I always brought up Baba Yaga tonight, because she flies in a pistol. which is kind of neat.
A pistol like a gun?
No, you know, like a pistol and mortar.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Pestle.
A pestle. I'm Princeton.
Pistol.
Yeah.
A pestle. Pestle. Sorry, a pistol. A pestle.
Got my 327 Magnum flying off.
Not a dildo.
You'd be flying pretty fast.
Not a dildo, but a
12-gauge dildo.
Hey, we just created a new witch. Flies in a pistol. All right, there you go.
That's amazing.
But then I noticed that then of course in Ravenloft, in Curse of Strahd, they put their witch in an upside down giant skull.
Right.
Which is kind of a neat.
That's how it flies?
It's sort of it flies in an upside down giant's skull.
Like roller skates? It's got one on each foot?
No, one big giant skull. It just
like a
bowl.
Know,
it might have
like a bowl. I think it's like a bowl.
Wait, like Bowser's kid and like Bowser in his little clown car floating in the air. There's
something like that.
Skull.
Yeah.
You know, like Goku and his cloud. I don't know if you watch anime.
So I really, I think it's kind of interesting little dive into witches. Ended up back at Endor, to comics, American pop culture once again, taking it over, and getting hallucinogenics. So
yeah, that story had just a little bit of everything. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll right there.
Everything.
Yeah. Horny, it sounds like.
Yeah,
it's a good one. Witches, and why they ride brooms for Halloween.
Hey, Mike, next time you steal a podcast about witches, you know what to do.
Get their phone numbers. Yes.
Yes.
And there are really more and more. I could go on and on of different things that have really impressed the broom,
right,
as a connection. But I really challenge anybody in the real game to think of some other reasons or other items your witches can manipulate.
I mean, look, in ceremonial Western magic, okay, the staff and the wand, which essentially are the same thing, ultimately, are indeed phallic objects.
Oh yeah,
they do harness the power of the male energy at that point. So it would be very unlikely that someone in any kind of actual occult tradition wouldn't be aware of this. The wand represents the will, as does the staff, which is just a bigger version of it, as does the lance. When you get to the lance of Longinus, for example, in the
lance of
the Grail stories.
Right.
Yeah, one more again.
The lance of Longinus, not vagina, Longinus. Yes,
I think we've been talking about dildos too much.
Well, if you've heard of this, the Fisher King, right? Most people have heard of the Fisher King.
I've seen the movie with
the
Robin Williams. It was a good movie.
Right. The actual Holy Grail story about the Fisher King is basically about a story about a king who has received an injury from this particular lance, and the only way that he can be healed is by the same lance. So it's kind of a situation where it's kind of like a metaphor for when you fall off the horse, you have to get back on the horse, kind of thing, where only the weapon that did the damage can heal the damage, kind of thing.
But wasn't there also a lance that pierced Jesus? Like
also true.
That is a different.
That was a spear, to be fair, but yeah, pretty much the same thing.
That's sort of a similar story in origin.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that people in medieval times, especially because they didn't have too much else to watch, they read the Bible a lot, and they were.
And the Bible just says the witches are on stabs.
Right.
Really, I mean, they're translating Dead Sea Scrolls and different people's word for stick.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure
maybe they were talking about the staff.
So I'm pretty sure here what we're saying is that when someone finds Mike's treasure, they could potentially sweep their house with it. Maybe.
Or
I wouldn't recommend it.
Why?
I would also recommend not using the dildo for its intended purpose because it's very splintery.
Yeah,
or the person could just lather themselves in hallucinogenic materials.
Yeah, get some witch grease.
And then listen to the 9 Inch Nails album, and then Sweep your house.
There you go.
Is that witches grease made from witches or made by witches, or is it made for witches?
Oh my
I think a yes to all of them.
From witches.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now that we've cleared that up, I feel we can move on.
Yeah. So, folks,
Made by witches, from witches, for witches.
I'm moving on.
With witches. Yeah, let's move on, folks. So I think we're at the tail end of our show here. I just want to thank Mike for joining and sticking with us for the entire show, because where he is, it's really, really late. So I'm going to thank him, and make sure you guys check out.
It's just as late where I am. Wait a minute. It's just as late where I am.
Yeah, but we're used to you hanging out with us late.
All right. Okay.
I have a life, Doc.
Mike's obviously a busy man.
That's
Doc.
true. I slept all day. You didn't get a chance to do that.
No.
But anyway, thank you, Mike, for joining us. By the way, I think you guys mentioned, but he is our first return guest on our show, so that's exciting for us. Glad he could make it, and I am very excited to find out what happens with this treasure. I please spread the word, folks. If you've heard about the treasure, spread the word, and if you hear about it, get it back to us, because I need to know what happens with
gold and
with all of it. With all of it.
Follow our socials.
Yeah.
Majizypod. MJSYPOD. Michael and Jeremy's
and next show they catch up with us with Week in Gaming, right? Next show.
Next show we will try to fit in.
Show?
Yes.
Week in Gaming, so that way you get that from us.
Yes.
Right. Cool beans.
Are we allowed to tell anyone about who our next guest is?
I wouldn't yet. I'm going to keep it under wraps.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. But Wednesday, we
That's
can
what
say
I'm saying. Our next show,
we can
our
say
next
this.
show will have a Week in Gaming and possibly a guest.
A really, really cool guest. Super cool. Not that Mike, you are very, very
Not as
cool
cool as
too.
Mike.
Mike is
Not as
really
cool as
cool. So.
And probably doesn't have any treasure either, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, and Mike is at Dungeon Studios, man. Another,
That's
like I
right.
say all the time, every week. You know, we're a group of creative artists. He's a producer, a voice actor. He does his own podcast, just like Russell does his DM stuff, and I do my writing. And Amber, you do your show. Yep. We all got our own things. We come together, and here we are, Dungeon Studios.
Yeah.
We're like Voltron, but cool.
With a little effort, right? Little effort.
I want to be the ass.
Creativity and some cooperation. You always have the prime advantage, right?
Yes, you do, Doc. Thank you for taking us out. We will see you folks next time. Have a good night. Have a good week. And we'll see you soon.
Over and out.